Hi, everyone. This is Janet Lincraft with the Living Room Talks. I have a very special guest with me today. Royal, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Milton the third. I'm the assistant athletic trainer with Temple men's basketball here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
And how did you get your start in athletic training? What was the journey to your current position?
Well, I started athletic training. I initially went into school, declared a major of physical therapy, but I had a friend. She was a year older than me, but she was on the ATC route. And I, after doing my first clinical rotation, just observation hours for PT, I seen that it wasn't really something I wanted to do, which was being in the clinic 9 to 5. And she kind of introduced me to it from being the standpoint of you could do be in the clinic in the morning and be with the sports in the afternoon. And I did observation hours with the ATC program, and I really enjoyed it. And I think that that's kind of the route I wanted to take, the work and incorporating sports into what I was doing on a daily.
And where you are working now at Temple and with the sport that you are working now, was that the original intent?
No, it actually was not. When I got into athletic training and I seen the different sports, and we did a rotation with different sports, I really didn't think basketball was something that I wanted to do when I was in undergrad, be doing a rotation with them. But as I initially came out of school wanting to be a football athletic trainer, I did two internships with the New Orleans Saints, one during undergrad and one postgraduate school. I did a seasonal internship with them postgraduate school, and that was the route, kind of the route I wanted to take. And entering the end of my internship in 2016, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Just applying for jobs, and I think that the Orlando Magic was looking for a field position. So I decided to apply for that and got offered it. And I thought it would be, different change of pace. I'll try basketball from a professional standpoint and see how I like it from there. And then just from there, I really enjoyed working with basketball, the smaller group of guys, building those personal relationships with a group of 15 guys. I really enjoyed that, and I decided that I wanted to switch over to basketball. Plus, there was added bonus of being an indoor sport.
What was the biggest surprise to you changing from professional sports to the collegiate setting?
I think the biggest thing was kind of having to deal with their the school schedule. They were go to school. I mean, I had awareness of it from being a graduate student, but being a full time, like just having that time, that downtime in the morning where you have to do treatments and stuff. Whereas with the professional setting, it's their job, so basically they come in the morning and pretty much everything was done by 1 or 2 in the afternoon. So it kind of give you more of your afternoons as I like training for yourself. Whereas with the collegiate setting, we pretty much was there all day, having to do treatments in the morning and then practice in the evening, and having to do post practice treatments. So it's kind of more of a longer day for the collegiate setting, especially with football. And then with basketball, it's kind of was the same, just depending on what time your coach wanted to practice. I had both. Since I've been doing basketball, I had coaches that practice in the morning and in the evening. And for me, from the standpoint of like training, I found like coach that practice in the morning, I feel like it gave the staff and like trainers more time to do something personal stuff when the guys were in class, even if we didn't have to do like doctor's appointments and stuff like that. But I mean, it's like even morning or afternoon practice. I think that was like the main difference.
So you've been in the profession a long time. What keeps you going? What keeps you in the profession?
I think the kids that will keep me in the profession. Honestly, I think I built great relationships with all of my athletes that I've worked with over the course of my career. I still keep in contact with guys I worked with years ago, and just touching base, or they see a change in my career from Instagram or Facebook, or if I see something they're developing, if they're going out to get married, have kids, like we just keep those relationships open. So I think that's what kept me in the professional so long, with just the relationships I built with the students over the years and the different athletes.
How about professional relationships, mentors that you've had? How have they helped your career and staying in the profession?
I think I've had some great mentors going down the line. I actually keep in contact with a lot of them. Kim Shaw is one of them that I consider one of my mentors from my undergrad that I just recently just spoke to and informed her. Then I was thinking about going to DET route here at Temple, as well as I have Dwayne Brooks from my time at the New Orleans Saints, as well as the Pelicans, Scotty Patton. We don't talk as often, but they're always there. I want to reach out. Keanu Reese is another one here at Orlando Magic. He's also a Temple grad. So I'm able to lean on those different mentors I had just in these aspect if I need advice about something.
When you were looking for mentors, were there specific characteristics you were looking for, professional connections? How did you find your mentors?
I think it just kind of, I think for me, it was just kind of like people that I've worked with along the way and just seeing that they kind of had the same either career goals that I had or they had kind of the same background of where they started from and where they ultimately ended up. And I just wanted to foster my career after there and try to get to those same positions. There's obviously been some changes in the way I've done my career and the route I've taken, but I've always like kind of leaned back and asked if I lean back on them to see, if I was not making the right choice, but act them on their guidance of different career choices that I've done.
So you've been in high intense situations in sports the last basically your whole career. Have you experienced any segments of burnout or not demotivation?
Yes. Honestly, I I have, and it's crazy because I didn't really think that being a preceptor at my last institution, I would see a lot of the kids were like talking about burnout and seeing like some of the like younger professionals coming in under me, were like also talking about burnout, and I was like, that's not to me. I didn't feel like that was really a thing because I didn't feel like our jobs are that taxing. But this last year, I was kind of teetering on the fence of like, did I want to continue because I was just like literally exhausted and burned out from it. So I was like, okay, actually, burnout is a thing, and I don't know. I can keep going at this pace, but I feel like going, to making a change in my career, coming to Temple. I just think that it gave me a little bit more resources as well as it gave me the opportunity to, if I want to pursue it, get my DAT, and I probably would bring me to the academic setting, which I would wanted to do, what I had already set forth for myself in my career, saying that I wanted to go, eventually wanted to go back into academics. I think when I got tired of traveling with the things, I think getting my DAT will allow me those resources to do that. So I think, making that this choice to come to Temple was like a good choice for me. But I've definitely felt the burnout recently. Yeah.
How did you overcome that burnout? Was it a process? And what were those coping mechanisms?
Yeah, it definitely was a process. It was just basically it was just like talking to family and then seeing like talking to different friends and just seeing like is this something that I want to continue to do? It because I really do have a passion for like training. I love what I do. I love the kids that I've worked with, and it's like I don't want to walk away from it. But I've noticed that for myself, just over the last year, like I've figured out like I need to not only I have to take time out for myself, especially like during the downtime. Like I'm normally just even if I'm not at work, I'm like still in the city, but I need to like start getting away, like and refueling myself for the next season instead of just being like staying, in the city or just not taking a vacation or something like that. I need to start taking time for myself as well.
So I'm so interested in your answer to my next questions because it's something I think about all the time. Why do you think athletic trainers, especially in the collegiate setting, have such work guilt? And work guilt being if I'm taking time for myself, that's not a right thing to do. Or if I set boundaries, that's not a right thing to do either.
I think it comes from when I first started in the profession. It was like we just kept going, even if you would, especially with smaller staffs. It was like you helped out with all sports. So I know in my first full time position, like I helped out, even though I was hired for basketball, I helped out with football. So I pretty much went all year round. And that was kind of, even from a GA, that was kind of the expectation is that we help even when our sport wasn't going on. So we were pretty much there helping other sports. And then when our sport got in the season, we just kept going up until the next year. Kind of when I became a professional, I went back to the same institution, and that's how it was. You would help out with football, and then basketball would start. And then when basketball ended, I had a secondary sport, which was tennis. And then when tennis ended, we would have like maybe May, a couple of weeks in May, which we would go to the Cat Symposium in Vegas. But then we were start right back up in June with football, and then we'll be going again for the full year up until the next May. So it's kind of like that was kind of like what started like the burnout process. Just keep going year round. I feel like if you're not supervisors need to get more on board. And like if your especially with bigger staff. I kind of understand from when we had a smaller staff, but like especially if you have enough people to cover certain sports. If that sport's not a season, I don't feel like supervisors should not require you, but they should even like consider you to cover those sports. And I've seen like lately the supervisors, my supervisors haven't. But I kind of understand it from when I first started, or like a smaller staff was like kind of all hands on deck. But it's like um, institutions need to get on board of hiring more ATCs so that you're not getting those ATCs that experiencing burnout.
So you mentioned that you were a preceptor. I'm curious to learn or hear what have you learned from being around these students, this next generation of athletic trainers?
It's been, honestly, it's been a mixed group. I was a preceptor since 2020, and all of my kids have really been good. The first I don't want to leave, but like the first three I had, like they were really good students. One of them went on to work at my one of my previous institutions. I got her men's basketball job there, and then the other two are now in the either high school setting or the collegiate setting. But I also feel like they have like from the coming from the academic setting, they have kind of a disconnect when it comes down to clinicals. What they're being taught in the classroom is not really it's translating, but it's more like when they come to the clinical setting, it's more like academic, where they're able to put the stuff in practice, but not everyone is clinical savvy, where they're more academic savvy than clinical savvy. So I think it's like bridging the gap. I know we as preceptors have to bridge the gap, but I feel like the teachers on the academic side also need to understand from the clinician side, like they're not going to see everything. Everything is not going to be textbook, and that's kind of what they expect from the academic side.
So that leads me to my next question. You mentioned you're interested in getting into academia. What is it about it that attracts you to it? And when do you see yourself doing that?
I think what attracts me to it is that I feel like being that I've been a practicing clinician for 11 years now, I feel like I'll be able to bring those realistic things of what we do from the clinical side into a DAT program, not a DAT, into a master's program, and just help them understand like what they're going to see. I'll be able to teach them what they'll see from a book standpoint, what they need to pass their BOC, but I also would want to explain to them like what they will see practically from a clinical standpoint, that it won't always be textbook. You won't always do the evaluation or the differential diagnosis won't always come out to be from like a textbook standpoint. Like you'll come up formulate different differential diagnosis when we're doing a clinical setting. So I think bridging that gap, just having someone that's practiced, and I also plan to continue to practice. Hopefully, once I do become DAT, I also and go into the academic side. I also want to continue practicing. I don't just want to go straight to academic. I kind of want to like do a hybrid of the both, so I could be able to show them from the academic side as well as the clinical side, like what they'll see on a daily basis once they get into their full term. And then as far as like a timeline, I'm planning. What I'm planning on doing right now, I've just got here at Temple, so I just want to at least do a year of just clinical and being full men's basketball, and then I think probably like the fall of next year, probably start into the DAT program and then go from there. I think it's like a 2-year program from what I did research on it.
So my last question to you, and it's always my favorite question. Tell me about an embarrassing mistake you have made in athletic training, and what was the lesson from that embarrassing moment?
Oh God. Um, embarrassing mistake. I'm trying to think. Oh, I do have one. So one when I first started as a full time for the New Orleans Pelicans G League team, I was working and we were down in New Orleans, and I think I put the ice pack over a nerve in the knee, and it kind of he got caused him to have drop foot, and so that scared me because I was like, so we had to work with him, and the PT had to work with him as far as getting the drop foot to go away. That scared the devil the daylight out of me, because I thought I ruined this child's career, but it was common. It wasn't common, but it was something like he had a very sensitive to ice, and just putting the ice pack over that certain area just caused that nerve to kind of have drop fed for a couple of, but he was able to go on and have a good career. And he's definitely, I still keep in contact with him. he has a fortune career now. So that was like one of the main things that was like embarrassing. And I learned that, when you put it over the nerve, to make sure you put a barrier between the nerve and the ice packer.
Yeah, I recently had a situation like that where it's like athletic training 101. And you're like, how did I forget? How did I make this mistake?
Right. Yeah, definitely.
All right, Royal, the next couple minutes is for you, a final statement to our audience.
Oh, well, I thank you all. I think just like a final statement would just be like, I think LA training is not for, I won't say it's not for everyone, but you have to have a giver's heart to go into LA training. LA training is not for people that's looking to make like a like a astronomical amount of money. It's all about giving back to your athletes, and I really enjoy what I do. And just from that standpoint, I think going forward in my career, I'm looking forward to where my career is going to take me. In acquiring my VAT, and I'm looking forward to like the next chapter. I think you're on mute. I think.
Of course I am. It's the first time I've used Zoom. So, Royal, thank you so much for taking the time with me, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.